Wallis and Futuna. Officially, the territory of the Wallis and Futuna Islands is a French island collectivity in the South Pacific, situated between Tuvalu to the northwest, Fiji to the southwest, Tonga to the southeast, Samoa to the east, and Tokelau to the northeast. Its land area is 142.42 square kilometers apart. The Wallis Islands in the northeast, and the Horn Islands in the southwest, including Futuna Island proper and the mostly uninhabited Alofi Island. Since the 28th of March 2003, Wallis and Futuna has been a French overseas collectivity. Between 1961 and 2003, it had the status of a French overseas territory. Its official name did not change when its status changed. The earliest signs of human habitation in these islands are artifacts characteristic of the Lapita culture, dating roughly to between 850 and 800 BCE. The islands served as natural stopover points for boat traffic going between Fiji and Samoa. During Tongan invasions in the 15th and 16th centuries, the islands showed varying levels of resistance and accepted varying degrees of assimilation. Futuna retained more of its pre-Tongan cultural features, while Wallis underwent greater fundamental changes in its society, language, and culture. The original inhabitants built forts and other identifiable structures on the islands, many of which are in ruins, but some of which are still partially intact. Oral history and archaeological evidence suggest that the Tongan invaders reoccupied and modified some of these structures. Oral history also preserves a cultural memory of relationships between Samoa and Futuna that are so long-standing that they are described in the islanders' origin stories. Futuna was first put on European maps by Willem Schutten and Jacob Le Maire during their circumnavigation of the globe in 1616. They named the islands of Futuna, Horns-Eilanden, after the Dutch town of Hoorn where they hailed from. This was later translated into French as Isles de Hoorn. The Wallis Islands are named after the British explorer Samuel Wallis, who sailed past them in 1767 after discovering Tahiti. The French were the first Europeans to settle in the territory. With the arrival of French missionaries in 1837, who converted the population to Roman Catholicism, Pierre Chanel, canonized in 1954, is a major patron saint of the island of Futuna and of the region. On 5 April 1842, the missionaries asked for the protection of France after the rebellion of a part of the local population. On 5 April 1887, the Queen of Uvia signed a treaty officially establishing a French protectorate. The kings of Segave and Alo on the islands of Futuna and Alofi also signed a treaty establishing a French protectorate on 16 February 1888. At that point, the islands were put under the authority of the French colony of New Caledonia. In 1917, the three traditional kingdoms of Uvia, Segave, and Alo were annexed by France and integrated into the colony of Wallis and Futuna, which remained under the authority of the colony of New Caledonia. During World War II, the island's administration was briefly pro-Vichy until a Free French corvette from New Caledonia deposed the regime on 26 May 1942. Units of the U.S. Marine Corps later landed on Wallis on 29 May 1942. In 1959, the inhabitants of the islands voted to become a separate French overseas territory, effective since 29 July 1961, thus ending their subordination to New Caledonia. In 2005, the 50th king of Uvia, Tomasi Kulimitok II, faced being deposed after giving sanctuary to his grandson who was convicted of manslaughter. The king claimed his grandson should be judged by tribal law rather than by the French penal system. As a result, there were riots in the streets involving the king's supporters, who were victorious over attempts to replace the king. 2 years later, Tomasi Kulimitok died on 7 May 2007. The state was in a 6-month period of mourning, during which mentioning a successor was forbidden. On 25 July 2008, Kapiliali Fopala was installed as king despite protests from some of the royal clans. He was deposed in 2014. A new king, Patalioni Kanimoa, was eventually installed in Uvia in 2016. Lino Lelevai in Wallis and Futuna succeeded after Filippo Katoa had abdicated. And Eugenio Takala succeeded Policalepo Colivi in Sigave. The French president at the time, François Hollande, attended the installation ceremony. The territory is divided into 3 traditional kingdoms. Uvia, on the island of Wallis, Sigave, on the western part of the island of Futuna, and Alo, on the eastern part of the island of Futuna and on the uninhabited island of Alofi. The capital of the collectivity is Matutu on the island of Uvia, the most populous of the Wallis Islands. As an overseas collectivity of France, it is governed under the French Constitution of 28 September 1958 and has universal suffrage for those over 18 years of age. The French president is elected by popular vote for a 5-year term. The High Administrator is appointed by the FRA.